for bragging rights, for a possible shift in power in the Sunshine State, for history, tradition, prestige, all those good things, and for Florida State, the 9-win season. Florida State, Florida, did it on a Friday night. College Football Nation will be watching from Doe Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Noles and Gators. And of course, here we are with our Florida State live show. We hope that you are keeping up with the notifications to know when we go live, because here we are at 4 Eastern as opposed to 6 Eastern. And just because I am a kind soul and I'm in the giving spirit and the thankful spirit, I will not reveal the reason why we have switched times today. One Jason Parker, NBC 6. Logan Robinson, Noel Game Day, of course.
Yes. Happy to be here.
I feel like I'm owed one since we've moved various times for Logan. Logan's obviously going back there to do. There he is. Logan turned the lights on.
I forgot my lights too. So.
I mean, it's daylight here, guys. Seriously, it's 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's winter time.
But we've moved times before for Logan so he can get drunk and play softball. We've moved times before for Mark. I feel like I am owed one.
One?
I don't remember moving times for me. I have just left town and left it up to you two.
Guys, we've got so much to talk about.
Yes.
This week. We've got to talk about recruits flipping from certain schools in the Midwest coming to Florida State. We got to talk about how Florida State yet again annihilated an opponent. We got to preview Noles Gators. Gators coming back to Tallahassee for the first time since 2018. But before we end this show, we're going to talk about a controversial Thanksgiving take. So stick around. I promise you, controversy will ensue between Logan, MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football.
Well,
looking forward to
it. And all these other topics, David Waters is here from Gators Breakdown. So we want to make sure that we're not wasting David's time. We'll break it right into the big matchup with the Gators. Prime time, ABC, Friday night. David, how you doing?
Good. Was much better about 20 minutes ago before Florida released its depth chart. So not pretty.
Give us the latest. What stood out to you?
Yeah, that wasn't pretty. I saw the tweets. It's not pretty.
Yeah, so I have to go back to the phone because the list is long here. So wide receiver is decimated for the Gators, and Mark, I believe we even brought that up in our preview, but we did get official. So where'd it go? Jaquavion Frazier's out. Ricky Pearsall is questionable, but Xavier Henderson out. Justin Shorter out. And Chakal Bowman out. So that is 2 of the 3 starters out with Henderson and Shorter. Pearsall, questionable. We'll see if he plays at all. For Florida, they've had Dejon Reynolds and Caleb Douglas, young receivers, step up the last couple of weeks. But, those guys have been out there amongst the other receivers. Now they have to be the guy in this wide receiver rotation there. So that hurts. Florida, the passing game's been up and down this year anyway. But now Anthony Richardson having to rely on some young receivers who have potential. They've shown it this year. But now, if you can't get the ground game going much like you couldn't last week, and now you have to go and maybe throw to some young receivers, pretty tough task. It's already a tough task, but now even harder for the Gators.
David, it might be easier for you to say what receivers will actually be able to play for the Gators in this one.
Yeah, as I mentioned, like I said, Caleb Douglas, he a few games ago kind of just started stepping up for the Gators and had some big plays. Dejon Reynolds was the breakout star last week versus Vanderbilt. 2 long touchdowns passes from Anthony Richardson there versus Vanderbilt. So, yeah, I mean, another thing, like I said, Ricky Pearsall is questionable, so he'd still be the main receiver if he can go. He's still Florida's playmaker there, and they've tried to get him at times involved in the run game too with some sweeps and reverses, maybe some trick plays here or there, and he was involved early on in that aspect last week versus Vanderbilt. Probably had an easy conversion until he just slipped down on the field last week too. So he's had some big plays here and there in the run game as well. Now, but him being questionable, It benefit Florida a whole lot if he can play that slot for come Friday night.
David, first of all, thank you for joining us again this year. This is becoming a Thanksgiving tradition, just like turkey stuffing and everything else. So thank you for joining us here. I want to cover last year when we were on. It was basically we were previewing a pillow fight between a 5-6 Florida State and a 5-6 Florida team. Things have changed a lot this year. Florida State comes in 8-3. Florida comes in 6-5. Both teams know they will be bowl eligible at this point. But I want to talk to you about what took place last week. Obviously, Florida State big win over Louisiana, state champs of Louisiana we are this year. So obviously we're going for a state championship here in Florida. How, from the Florida aspect, how disappointing was, let's just be honest here, how disappointing was it with that Vanderbilt loss?
Very. I mean, specifically just for this game, it kind of put a damper on this game. But for Florida, it looked like they were kind of turning it around. The last 6 quarters of football for Florida, going to the second half of the Texas A&M game and then the whole game versus South Carolina, you were looking at, hey, November, you're turning the calendar from October to November. You got beat by Georgia. That was understood. That was expected. But you turn the calendar to November, you got some winnable games coming up. Florida took care of business versus Texas A&M. They took care of business versus South Carolina. And didn't give up a touchdown for 6 quarters on defense. So it even looked like the most the worst part of the team was maybe even turning around at that point, only to go to Nashville and kind of lay an egg against Vanderbilt. The defense, not all bad. I mean, some of the problems we've seen this year was setting the edge and missing tackles and just inexplicable plays at times showed up. But it wasn't in mass like it had been earlier in the season. It still wasn't. I'm not going to put the game on the defense of why Florida lost that game. Did they play perfect? No, didn't expect that. They weren't going to keep shutting teams out for 6 quarters, going in like they were A&M and South Carolina. But some things did get by them there. But also, Anthony Richardson goes and throws for 400 yards. But you got to look deeper than that. First down and third down offense for Florida, especially in the passing attack, not that strong. They lived off of big plays last week, as I mentioned, with some deep passes to the receiver there, Dejon Reynolds. So it was a lot of big plays. The ground game just could not get going. That's probably the most disappointing part. Florida's been able to run pretty much on anybody they've played this year, and it was non-existent. The running backs couldn't get it going. The offensive line couldn't block anybody. And Anthony Richardson didn't run the ball. For whatever reason, even when it was there at times, he didn't run the ball. There was not enough design runs to kind of get him going, maybe just to get in that mindset of start getting some big plays on the ground. So, and then inexplicable turnovers, inexplicable penalties. I mean, it really was. If it could go wrong, it did go wrong. And look, that's why it was such a big upset.
You did mention Anthony Richardson. Obviously, we saw what happened last year with Anthony Richardson. He came in, led Florida to the victory over FSU. Good and bad from him. Give us an evaluation, both the good and the bad from Anthony Richardson. And also, he did say in his press conference this week, he said, when we beat Florida State, do you like that? Or does that concern you a little bit that he's coming in a little bit confident? Is he overconfident?
I'm trying to go back to did he mean it that way? Because that's not really him. He doesn't usually go out like that with some of that. And I'll jokingly say in my head, this is probably his last game, so he probably just going to throw something out there like that anyway. So I don't know if that's the case. But, it was a bit surprising for him to say something like that. But for his season, as you mentioned, it's been up and down. You go to the very first game of the year versus Utah, and he's putting on a Heisman performance. Everybody's talking about Anthony Richardson being right there, and only for the next week to go probably play his worst game of the season versus Kentucky the very next week. So, you got what you were getting from Anthony Richardson the first 2 weeks of the season. You got very high, you got very low, and then kind of throughout the rest of the season, middling up or down. One thing he did fix was turnovers. He had not been turning the ball over. We got to remember at one point going into the Tennessee game, he had more interceptions than he had touchdown passes. And then throughout the season, caught that back up, threw a fluke interception last week there. But for him, like I said, for last week was the perfect example of it. He threw for 400 yards. You'll take that stat line. But I would have rather had 300 passing yards and 100 yards rushing, because more than likely, Florida probably wins that game. There would have been some big plays on the ground. Florida probably scores a couple more touchdowns if he's running the ball for 100 yards. So that's what it is. If he gets going on the ground game, Florida wins. If he doesn't get going on the ground game, you got to get what you got last week versus Vanderbilt, which you got versus Kentucky earlier in the season as well. So it's just – and I don't know how to take that for this game because Florida's, as I mentioned, for receiver, Florida maybe just be forced to run the ball more than they really want to. And if FSU shuts it down, then, all right, well, Florida stuck with the ground game, but it might be because they have to, not because of they're having success there.
Mm-hmm. When you're looking at Florida State, going in before the Vanderbilt game for Florida, I was thinking, all right, man, this is going to be a showdown, hopefully a ranked matchup.
Yeah.
That's what we were all hoping for. I was like, come on, I'm not that we're over here pulling for Florida as much. It's not bad to see them lose to Vandy and the Florida State fans, but I wanted to see a ranked matchup because it'd be great to have those two programs backed in that kind of contention again. But going to Florida State and UF here in this game coming up on Saturday, what do you think, if you're on UF side, what does FSU do that threatens you the most, which they're going to have to be better at this season or the last couple of weeks for UF? What do you think threatens them the most out of FSU?
Yeah, I think I go back to last week and I said this defense had been playing better, but they kind of did revert back. And I'm going to go to Vanderbilt's success on the ground game. They ran counter, they ran around the edge, and Florida State's going to do that. I mean, that's Florida State's offense. And that's what they've been able to do all season with that three-headed monster at running back. And seeing it come back last week to hurt Florida the week before you play Florida State. Okay, well that's a big worry there. So can Florida set the edge? Can their linebackers be in the right spot here to make the big plays that they were making versus Texas A&M and South Carolina? And you hope somehow, some way that this defense did turn a corner. And because, the very next week you shut South Carolina out, they go and put 60 up on Tennessee. So you hope, okay, maybe Nashville, maybe they did turn a corner. Maybe Nashville, maybe Vanderbilt was just a bad day. As I said, if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. But looking at it, Florida has had trouble stopping the run all year. And then seeing it the week before you play Florida State happened to Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt should never run the ball like that on Florida. And they did. So that's my biggest worry right there is to all the success FSU has had this season, and especially in the last month of running the ball, running over teams, that they probably can do the same in Florida.
Give us your thoughts on Billy Napier. Obviously, this is his first year in here. You had that whole the Dan Mullen experiment didn't really go the way you guys thought it would be down in Gainesville. But what have you seen from Billy Napier that gives you confidence that he can turn this around in Gainesville?
The buy-in from the players has definitely been there, even as ugly as it looked last week. And at times this season, Florida's, even with all the losses, they have kind of piled up this year, has found themselves in every game at some point in the second half. Even against Georgia, in the third quarter, they bring it back 28-20 and bring that game back to a one-score game before, Georgia just kind of settles down and puts the game away. But they don't quit. There's been plenty of times they were down big to Tennessee, and that game came down to a Hail Mary. They were down big to LSU. Florida gets a turnover that gets overturned late. And that even we see what LSU is now. So they fought back. They've made some games out of games they probably shouldn't have. And then even last week when it was just all going wrong, Vanderbilt have built a double-digit lead in the second half. They fight back, and it's a game to the very end there for Florida. Even though it shouldn't have been, they still fought back. They don't give up on him. So he's instilled that mentality. This team did give up last year under Dan Mullen. They got down. They stayed down. And then I will say up until last week, they played a lot of pretty much smart football. They didn't get penalized. They didn't have dumb penalties in opportune situations. I won't say just because of last week that's all changed. I mean, out of 10 games up to last week, Florida has been one of the least penalized teams in the SEC there. So it's been smarter play. It's been cleaner play. A lot of the stuff that they haven't done right this year is because you can say talent or just plain simply the newness of it all under Billy Napier. So some of the simple things that you can fix as far as culture, mentality, and fixing, the mental issues like penalties, up until last week, it has been there.
Mark, is that the number I think I see right there?
That is the number you think it is, yes. Our guy Kyle Pickett has been very generous on a number of occasions. Kyle, we appreciate you stopping by. We're very glad that you stopped by, especially today. Kyle, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. And go FSU.
Damn. If you want
there you go.
Maybe I'll even root for
nice, guys.
This Friday.
All right, David, what do you got for us? I want to know I want to know the questions David's got for us here. I mean,
well, before David gets started, David, want you to know we want you to be here as long as you can. So just We want to respect your time, but at the same time, you are welcome to hang out. So
Yeah, a couple for especially starting along the offensive line. What's been the difference there? That has been a much maligned group for Florida State. I'd say probably it seems like last decade, but maybe at least 5 years or so. What's been the biggest change for this offensive line this year?
According to Logan,
Look at this. Now,
this question.
Jason does not want to answer it.
At the
Look
bit.
at him.
Look at him.
Look at him.
Logan, there's been no offensive line problems ever. So let's
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. No, that's at least for the last couple of months, it's really been them staying healthy. You brought in the transfers, and that's been able to bring in experienced guys that can play right away. And so you lost Bless Harris at the beginning of the season. That sucked definitely, but you threw in Jazz and Turnentine. And you had a few others. You got Dimitri Emmanuel on the inside that's played very well. It's just experience, and you brought back Dylan Gibbons. You've got Maurice Smith back at center too. So experience and health. These guys are staying healthy too, and it's helped a lot with the running game. It's helped these three guys in the backfield to get the yards that they have, and Coach Atkins too, continuing to build there and build depth. That's probably the biggest thing too, is building depth, bringing in freshmen. He's got a. Whenever we go to practice, I mean, he's got a gigantic group of players around him, and he's trying to do the same thing this upcoming season into next with just continuing to build that. It's just, you're right, it was atrocious play, that offensive line for a very, very long time, allowing DeAndre Francois to just get absolutely derailed. James Blackman pelted every 5 seconds, and then also defenders getting back to the running backs, and they're having to bounce off immediately. Once the play started, it was bad, but you're seeing the growth there, and it's helped a ton with that running game where you don't have to so heavily work on throwing down the field. You can do some simple stuff, and like you said, do some counters, and Florida State's been able to do that this season.
I would probably also say that this is the first time probably since Cam Akers was in the backfield for Florida State that Florida State has had, and going to knock my alma mater for a moment, but first time we've had decent running backs in there. I mean, you've got a three-headed monster back there. When they're all healthy, of Trey Benson, Trayshawn Ward, Lawrence Toafili, that, I mean, really none of those three guys have been able to be stopped at this point in the season.
There's a question in here down here from Rooney asking Logan, will Caden Lyles be back next year? Another transfer that came in, this one from Wisconsin. He was going to compete at the center position against Maurice Smith. I think they're going to figure out a few things just depending on waivers and such. Once again, and a veteran player. He's been around he's at the practices. He's over there coaching, helping out some of the young guys. He's doing quite a bit, and I think they're going to try to get him back. It'd be nice to have that, depending on what Maurice Smith is doing, and adding competition to that center position is always nice. But we'll just keep an eye on it. Mike Norvell said a while back that, they're just going to have to wait on a few guys with some waivers and stuff. Bless Harris also. There's a lot of things that Florida State on the medical side of things are going to have to figure out with the NCAA, which is always the most fun ever dealing with them.
They're a great group of people.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And I guess one more is patient the right word with Jordan Travis? Because I don't think we all expected this coming into this season. I mean, I know you brought in a ton of transfers, and that definitely has probably helped. But I mean, it probably nobody likes the word patient anymore in college football, but it kind of paid off here.
We said before the season started that if Jordan Travis could throw the ball decently, if he could throw a forward pass, that's what we wanted, because we had not seen this out of Jordan Travis before. And I think it's they put that trust. I think once Jordan Travis realized, I'm the starter, I'm going to be the starter full time, I think he built off that trust. And you're seeing a Jordan Travis at quarterback. We talked about last week. I would even say at this point, after what we saw last week, I think he overtook Dre May as the best quarterback in the ACC right now. I think Dre May took a step back after what he did against Georgia Tech. I think Jordan Travis right now entering that Florida game. Logan, if you want to disagree with me, go ahead. But I think right now he's the best quarterback right now in the ACC.
He's playing great football. He's taking care of the ball, and the thing is, he's a threat with his legs too. Drake May having a phenomenal season for his age too. Just seeing the development though for Jordan Travis specifically has been nice, and that's helped a lot. That's helped a ton with just guys feeling the trust from the wide receivers. I mean, they also helped out a ton. You get the offensive line there, and you also help out the wide receiver room. That fixes a lot of things too for a quarterback. But he had to work on a lot of things, and I think that's a good point, Jason. Now he was the sole focus and the starting quarterback. He brought in Mackenzie Milton, and that just, once I saw a few spring scrimmages, that was just never going to happen. That wasn't fully healthy, couldn't run, couldn't move around the pocket whatsoever, and so that just felt a little off there. And Jordan Travis, hearing things, just not feeling with the staff and what was going on there, and so now solely focused on him. Tony Tokar's Florida State's quarterbacks coach has done a really nice job, not only with Jordan Travis, but also developing there with Tate Rodemaker, who was a guy that had to go in and save Florida State and have a game-winning drive against Louisville. That was one of their most impressive, if not the most impressive one, compared right next to LSU. But, him just playing smarter, man. And he kind of had a few instances and earlier in the season, but he continues to grow and get better. The biggest question now is if he ends up staying for next year, because if Florida State's able to keep him for next year, you're fighting for the ACC championship. You're getting rid of the divisions next year. You have a good chance. Florida State can fight. If there was no division this year, you're fighting for an ACC championship. But that's just not the case. Atlantic is always going to be right now held by Clemson. But Jordan Travis, the biggest question for me right now is heading into next year. What does Jordan Travis do? Because you see all these rankings, and you see all these PFF grades and whatnot. You could take him for whatever you want, but he's putting up some good numbers right now compared to some really good quarterbacks. Some playing the SEC, good competition. But Travis has really, I think, been mental for him. He was dealing with a few things too last season that it took them a while to figure some things out and health wise, and I think they got that figured out. And he's been able to stay healthy too. Healthy is probably the biggest.
Logan, more importantly, I think my question for you is, can you convince people to hit the like button?
No, it's close. We're not even at 4:30, Jason. We're at 4:30.
Yeah, but we're shorting early tonight.
That's right. It's a quick stream. Hit the like button, and Florida State wins the game. How about that? That's probably gonna be the easiest way to do it. The Florida fans in here might not like.
Where's the dislike button? Where's it?
Yeah.
Well, hey, one more, guys. Just kind of maybe off topic in a way. Do you like the game on Friday night?
Hate it.
Okay, good. Okay, me too. We can agree on something.
Now, mind you, this is the first time Florida State and Florida play in the regular season on a non-Saturday since 1979. I wasn't alive. I don't believe you were alive yet, David. Logan definitely wasn't alive.
Stop
Mark,
right there.
Mark,
Whoa.
Mark, were you around for that one there?
No.
No.
I have no idea. 1979, that's like ancient history. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I,
for the record, like the Friday night game because I'm the guy that's trying to watch everyone, and I can just watch Florida State.
That is the only benefit. That is the only benefit of it.
I love it.
I will say this, though. I think it's good because after what we were last season, both of us coming into this season, neither one of us could argue for a Saturday spot. We couldn't argue for a Saturday 3:30 or Saturday night spot because both of us were hot garbage last season. We finished the year 5-7. You finished the year 6-7 after losing to UCF in the Gasparilla Bowl. I think going into this game, I think this is going to be a very good spot for both teams. We're coming in, like I said, we're coming in 8-3. You're coming in 6-5. Both of us have winning records at this point, and I think it's going to give us both that chance to shine. It's going to give us both that shot to, hey, the winner of this game is going to be impressive. If Florida can come in, get the upset win, you come in 7-5, going into, obviously, that jacks up your bowl stock at that point. If Florida State can get a win, you're state champs for the first time since 2016. You have an outside shot at maybe, I'm going to say it, I'm going to manifest this into reality. The Orange Bowl is still a shot.
Yeah.
The Gator Bowl is there. The Citrus Bowl is there. It improves a lot of things. It gives you that chance to go into a 10-win season into what next year, like Logan said, could be competing for an ACC title. David, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yep.
I'm going to have you finish this sentence for me. Obviously, Florida State's a 9.5-point favorite coming to this game. Florida pulls off the upset and gets a win if
200 yards rushing. It's going to take that. That's the only. I mean, pretty much. I think 210 has been the number for Florida this year. If they run for 210 or more, they've won every time. If they don't hit that mark, they lose. And now, given the status of Florida's passing game and wide receivers, Florida's probably going to have to run for 200 yards to even have a chance to win in this game. So I think for Florida's offense, it is at about 200 yards rushing. They're going to have to get near that to win. And maybe even for the other side of the ball, not saying he can't do it, but I think the only way for Florida is make Jordan Travis beat you. Because if FSU runs on Florida, it's over with. I don't see any way Florida wins this game if FSU gets their ground game going. And Jordan Travis is more than capable of beating Florida. But I think you have to find out that's the only way that, I think for Florida's defense to stay in this game is to put it all on Jordan Travis and make him beat you.
Logan, on the flip side of that, Florida State hasn't won 9 games in a regular season since the 2016 season. Florida State gets their 9th win of the season if
Florida State takes care of Anthony Richardson. I think that's a big thing there because he can be really elite with his legs. I mean, he can use his legs, and he's also got a cannon of an arm. Losing the wide receivers definitely hurts, but Florida State has given up some passes. They've gotten better, but you're really relying on Renardo Green right now as being your top cornerback. You've seen Greedy Vance go in and play really well with at the nickel position alongside with Kevin Knowles, but Florida State's and Adam Fuller, I think, have got to play how they did a little bit with Malik Cunningham. You're going to have to put Kalen DeLoach off to the side with him, watch him, and now you're starting to bring down Jamie Robinson quite a bit more, which I've loved. It brings me back to like Derwin James days where I wish, freaking Kelly would have used him in the right area and bring him down the goal line. There's certain things where I think Jamie Robinson plays better, and it's him coming down and crashing. And I think, Kalen DeLoach, if he's going to be good to go. He's good to go this Friday night, but he's going to be eyeing him down. And that's what they used against Malik Cunningham. There was a few times where, God, they could have came away with multiple tackle for losses there just because Kalen has that speed. But, Richardson is a talented quarterback. And you saw what they did last year to Florida State. And Florida State, I want to bring this up. Florida State was still at that last little point with the team there, some guys in the locker room they still had to move on from. It was an immature team down there in Gainesville. They came in cocky. They came in thinking, all right, this is an interim head coach. We're going to come in and win, and this is going to be easy peasy. But you know what? That was a team that was fired up with the Gators down there, and, they held their own. Florida State, I think that we've seen maturity big time, definitely on the road, and I want to see that switch is going to have to be made in order to beat Florida on Friday night. You can't go into this one being cocky like they did last year. And I think Mike Norvell has learned a lot from last year. Look back to the Jacksonville State game. There's a lot of learning that they had to do, and it's shown going into this season. And we'll see on Friday night.
Logan, we made an agreement not to talk about that game ever again. Didn't happen. Just like Georgia.
That's last week for us too.
If we can't talk about Georgia Southern for them in 2013, we can't talk about Jacksonville State for us.
Oh yeah.
Before we get to the pick section here, I want to agree with. I want us all to come together on something. I want us all to come together. It's Thanksgiving time. We all, we're going to be thankful around our family, our friends. We're all going to be blessed. We all have something to be blessed for.
I think I know where this one's going.
I want to ask you guys a question because there was a controversial take. I was shunned at work for my controversial take. So I'm gonna ask you guys first. You've got your Thanksgiving dinner plate. You've got your plate. We all know about that plate with that big meat portion. Oh, well, okay. Here's another for Kyle. First of all, thank you. Kyle's giving us $400. We appreciate.
We got to do more Thanksgiving streams.
Absolutely, 100%. We should go to 4 p.m. more often if this is going to be the case here. But I'm asking you a question. You've got your plate. You've got your main big area that's usually reserved for the meat. Then it's got the 3 little side areas on there. I want you guys to each, and we're going to start with David because you're the guest here on today's show. Give me what goes in your big portion. Give me your 3 side portions, and then what's your dessert plate? Give me your Thanksgiving plate.
All right. So the big portion, turkey gravy stuffing all together. Mm-hmm. That's all together.
Okay.
So I get 3 sides, right?
So your main portion is stuffing
with the turkey in it and the gravy.
Turkey and stuffing. Okay, go ahead. All right.
All together, and then mac and cheese, green beans, and more mac and cheese.
Okay. So double mac and cheese, green beans, and then what's your dessert?
Chocolate pie.
Chocolate pie. Okay.
Yep.
Logan, let me get yours real quick.
Turkey, always good, but we've got to make sure it's going into the fryer. We're going to do it in the fryer. We're going to get it out nice and crispy on the outside, tender on the inside. Then we're going to do, I'm a big green bean casserole person. Love the green bean casserole. Sweet potato casserole. I think that's what it is, if I'm correct. And then give me macaroni's never bad. Never bad on a good, nice and cheesy macaroni. And then a little banana pudding for dessert. A little banana pudding.
Nice.
Oh,
Okay. All right. You obviously are from the South. Okay. Mark.
Turkey. I'm not a huge turkey fan, but it's Thanksgiving and it's got to be moist. It has to be moist. There has to be
not
gravy
dry.
right there. David, I do not like to mix foods. I separate my foods. Those are 3 foods that go together.
Wow.
I can mix those together. I can mix turkey, stuffing, and gravy. That makes sense.
What are you,
Yes.
5 years old?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pardon me?
What are you, 5 years old? You can't.
Yeah, I'm like 5 years old. Absolutely. I admit it. Yeah, I don't like food touching. No. Don't like that.
All right.
But my mom makes like a cranberry, and I don't like cranberries, like the whole cranberry sauce thing. Forget that. We don't want that. But she makes like a cranberry marshmallow mix dessert that's really good. But I love, the sweet potatoes are a must. They're up near the top of the list, with a lot of marshmallow, brown sugar in them. Yeah, some really good sweet potatoes. And then my choice, even though I'm a chocoholic and all my desserts contain chocolate throughout the year, it's Thanksgiving pumpkin pie. Love it with a lot of Ready Whip.
Okay.
On top.
But you also went with cranberries. So you're counting cranberries the side. You got the sweet potatoes aside. And what was your third side?
I get a third side. I'm going to go with, I love mac and cheese.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be nice and creamy, though. I got some out the other night at a restaurant, dry mac and cheese.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Get me out.
That's not good. All right. So here's my controversial take here on this one. All right. So first of all, give me on the sides. Give me the green bean casserole, but it's got to be it's got to have the cream of mushroom soup. I got to have the crunchy onions on top. That's the way it's got to go there on that one. Give me the mac and cheese, and I'm talking about the good mac and cheese. None of that Logan mac and cheese.
What are you talking?
Good. I don't think you know about that mac and cheese life, Logan. I don't think you know about that. I don't honestly get that, but
You got me messed up.
Okay, fine. Maybe you do. Maybe you bring some mac and cheese up to the press box on Friday. Maybe we'll see. We'll see if you know about that life. Here's my controversial take. My third in the small side area. Give me a little bit of the honey baked ham. I'm not a big turkey guy. I do. It's okay, but I'm a bad Jew. I like my ham there. So give me the honey baked ham.
That's more of a Christmas selection.
That's fine.
Sure.
For me, in that big area to me is stuffing. Stuffing is really the only thing I need at Thanksgiving. If you're telling me you can have one food, it's going to be stuffing. I am all about the stuffing life. That is me. Everything else at the table. In fact, if you're just telling me what are you going to have, stuffing.
Stuffing.
That's all what I'm about right there.
Wow.
And then I agree with you, Mark. Give me the pumpkin pie loaded up with the. I'm not a big fan of the Cool Whip. I like the spray.
No. That's what I said. The Ready Whip.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. I can shoot.
Oh, absolutely.
I can down a can of that without anything else. But that's really good stuff.
Absolutely, David. What's one thing you're thankful for? I want to know what are you thankful for?
Of course, everybody wants to go family. Yes, that is. I'm trying to just go, off the wall here. Besides just the normal.
Yeah.
Man, that's a good one. But just besides the normal answers that everybody is thankful for. I'll say in understanding.
Tim Tebow.
In understanding, in understanding family. Everybody says family and stuff. Put it this way, I put my family through hell during football season. Yes. I mean, it is a time commitment every day in, day out. So, I'll extend the family thought to just the time and effort it takes to put up with me going to Gainesville week in and week out and everything that comes along with that. So a very understanding wife and daughter.
There you go. Shout out to David's wife and daughter there on that one.
Yeah, there we go.
I think David has to go too.
Okay.
I saw in the chat.
All right, then David, what's your pick? Give us your pick on the game. Give us your pick.
Yeah, I had 37-27 FSU there. I just don't Florida just even before the Vanderbilt game, I was like, okay, this is 50-50 in who I can see coming away winning this game. But then Florida's just been inconsistent all year, and then they hit a floor last week versus Vanderbilt. And now, and this was even before. I mean, I knew some wide receivers were going to be out, but it's maybe even a little worse than what I thought it would be. coming here too. So 37-27, I got a big hour-long preview that I put up yesterday as well on Gators Breakdown. That score predictions in there as well. So a lot more thoughts going on there, but I just don't think Florida's consistent enough to pull this one away.
David, you're amazing. Thank you for joining us, man. We
Appreciate you,
it.
David.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Thank you,
Enjoy the
buddy.
game.
See y'all.
See ya.
Logan, what are you thankful for aside from being with me here and me getting my wisdom being imparted upon you?
I'm thankful for Florida State getting a quarterback in the 2023 class. We've only got 5 more minutes left on this show. We got to get straight to work, Jason. We get it. We spent 10 minutes on Thanksgiving food.
Yeah, a little soft on the football takes here. I appreciate your producing skills.
It's rivalry week.
Because you know what I didn't get out of that conversation that I really wanted? I wanted a little recruiting talk. I wanted you guys to mix it up on the recruiting front, what's going on there, because David and I were on a couple days ago, and he said, we really don't cross paths Florida State, and I was going to
it's going to start getting there.
So we're going to get David back. We'll get David back in the off season and dig into some recruiting talk.
Logan, we got to be gentle because he decommitted from that other school that Mark roots for. So
they do have a pretty good dang quarterback in the class already. They do. But yeah, no, Florida State able to flip Brock Glenn. This has kind of been in the works for a little while now. Already once Brock Glenn committed, I did not think that was going to be the end all be all for him with Ohio State, with the quarterback they already have in that class being one of the most talented, if not the most talented, in 2023. But, Coach Tokars, along with Mike Norvell, did a really good job of staying in contact with Brock all throughout his senior season. That's ended. And now, Florida State put on the field some really good stuff, I think. And you're bringing in a guy like Hakeem Williams, 5-star wide receiver. That already attracts you right away with Florida State building that upfront trenches with Coach Atkins, like we talked about earlier. This just makes sense. Florida State had Chris Parson in the fold. You lose Chris Parson, you tried to find some answers, and you had Brock Glenn on with a visit, and you felt like things went very well there, and they absolutely did. The family felt really nice and comfortable here, but ended up picking Ohio State. This is a talented guy. This is not a we're not going to be. There's a guy in the 2024 class that you really want to hold on to, and that's Luke Kromenhoek. That's your game changer, and that's what you thought a couple years ago that you would have with Luke Altmaier. You lose him to Ole Miss. There's a whole lot there. Florida State has gone through like a quarterback recruiting carousel and nightmares, but this one, from what I'm hearing, this is a really nice, solid commitment that they'll hold on to in that 2023 class. We'll see if they want to do anything in the transfer portal. It's all going to depend on Jordan Travis, what he wants to do, but a nice pickup for Florida State and trying to build that offense for the future. But he's a guy he's a good quarterback. This is a good quarterback that you can bring in and to develop. And if you see what Coach Tokars and Norvell were able to do with Jordan Travis in this last offseason and see him develop, then bringing in a guy like this with a good quarterback, that excites you to potentially raise that roof to being a damn good quarterback. So a lot to like.
Very quickly before we get to our predictions, how much of this was Florida State sticking with Brock, sticking with trying to get him to flip after he was committed to Ohio State? How much of it was that, or how much of it do you attribute this to Florida State's success on the field? We talked about this before the season. Florida State would have to have a good year to be able to get some solid recruits. How much of this is Florida State's success on the field, or how much of this was Florida State sticking with him during this process?
It was a mix of definitely both. Florida State, from what I was told, no matter what, if he were to commit to Ohio State, they would stay, in very close contact. And they've been that way with a few other players. And this one, that right there did its job. And then you look at Florida State and its progress, and the improvement into the season has been huge, winning some big games. And it makes sense for this to happen. And even if Ohio State, if they were looking at wanting to move on from quarterback, or even if Brock Glenn was testing waters and then listening more to Florida State, either way, what they did this year on the field helps a ton. And like I said, when you're building the trenches, everything outside of that will take care of itself. And you're able to grab Hakeem Williams not too long ago. And, Florida State too, what they're bringing in already in that 2023 class and that wide receiver room, I'm super excited for. Vidarius Jacobs too, is someone that we don't really talk about a ton, but Florida State's got a wide receiver room going into 2023 that should make you want to yell "F yeah!" Like
Whoa.
it's unbelievable. It's
Whoa.
very exciting. Definitely, you look at Johnny Wilson, Micah Pittman. You bring back those two guys. I could just keep on rambling on, but yeah, Florida State's wide receiver room should excite any quarterback that has any brain.
Kyle Pickett apparently getting a sponsorship deal on this show. I appreciate it.
Why not?
Hey, that honestly, heck
Shoot.
yeah, that could be our sponsor.
You asked for one, you got it there, Lo.
I did.
Score
I
predictions.
did.
I mean,
I'm thankful for Kyle Pickett today.
there you go. All right, Logan, what are you thankful for? And give me a score prediction.
I'm thankful for the opportunity to be on this show and also be able to go and cover Florida State and go get I'm thankful for Coach Norvell giving us the access to go to these practices and give some good insight to y'all. And then, of course, thankful for the family and all that kind of jazz, blah, blah, blah. But let's get to the game. That's what everybody wants to talk about. Florida State UF, baby. Prime time Friday night that allows me to have a good time Friday night and Saturday night, Jason. So I enjoy it very much. I think Florida State, at least going into this game 2 weeks ago, I was thinking, all right, ranked matchup might be closer than something. But watching practice throughout the week, I'm still sticking on, I'm not going to say blowout here, but I think Florida State's going to win convincingly by 2 touchdowns. I've got Florida State winning 34-20. 20, I might trim down now. I had that in my brain yesterday. Now that Florida is going to be without some targets at wide receiver that Anthony Richardson won't be able to go to on Saturday, that's going to be tough, but I'll keep it safe with 34-20. But I think Adam Fuller is going to make me look silly. I'll be honest with you guys. I think it might be a little bit less than that. It might be like a 34-14 type of situation. He might make me look dumb, but just to keep it safe, Florida State, if they can take care of, I keep on hearing, and this is what FSU fans love doing, and I understand it. It's in years past, but dual threat quarterback that can run. I understand that. Florida State did what they could against Malik Cunningham, did pretty well. Florida State has done a pretty good job this season of taking care of quarterbacks that have some legs. I think it's time to kind of move on from that whole everybody let's freak out, this quarterback can run a little bit. But Anthony Richardson is going to be one of the most elusive, most explosive quarterbacks that they'll face this season. But Florida State's done a really good job defensively with that. You're bringing Kalen DeLoach's healthy, Tatum Bethune's healthy, Jamie Robinson healthy. And you know what? Look in those trenches with Fabian Levitt. That's going to wreak havoc. And this could be Jared versus last game in Doak Campbell Stadium. So look for some potential highlights. There's always one player on the defensive line that likes to take care of business against the Gators. Who's it going to be? Give me Fabo.
I'm thankful that Logan stopped already. Jesus Christ!
I had to run through it.
Good on there.
It's good stuff. It's good
analysis.
details there.
He brought a lot of analysis.
Why we're here.
Okay, I'm going to give you my prediction right here so that Mark can type it up. I'm concerned. I mean, it's a rivalry game. We all know what that means. I'm very concerned. Florida's going to come in. They're going to be pissed about losing to Vanderbilt. I'm going to say Florida State gets their first win over the Gators since 2017. I'm going to say Florida State 31, Florida 21. I think anytime these rivals play, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I'm going to say Florida State 31, Florida 21. But what I'm thankful for, I'm thankful for the ability to wake up every morning. I'm thankful that my father, with all of his medical stuff, I'm thankful that he's around for another year. I'm thankful that he's going to be up there for a game. I'm not so thankful that I'm going to have to wake up tomorrow morning to work and then drive to Tallahassee right afterwards. But I am thankful that we are all going to be together. I'm thankful for being sober for another year. I am thankful that Florida State football has given me a reason to be able to be cocky as hell this season.
He wasn't thankful about being with us, Mark. I'm just making sure that's put out
I'm
there.
Thankful.
I'm not thankful for seeing us every week.
We might have been like number 82 on the list. Or
yeah.
Wow, pandering there. I am thankful that Mark has given us this platform to be able to share our thoughts on Florida State football each week. I'm thankful that we are still together. And I am thankful that Logan has been able to be that younger brother to me. He's been that younger brother who, despite not always listening to the wisdom that I give him, still I will be there for him. So,
Thank you.
there you
Thank you.
I can't do the math to a T, but 187 weeks is well over 3 years. So I'm thankful that you guys have delivered each and every week when you guys have so many other things going on, so many other obligations, other places that you could be. And then we put this together each and every week. And we all provide our take, our knowledge, our perspective, our personality, and it all comes together the way it does.
Mark, no matter whether we have drunken beer league softball or dates, no matter what, we will be here for you.
We will move away, yes.
This is the last regular season one right here, and then we'll have a couple of weeks to figure out when this.
Guys, we're gonna get to talk about a bowl game this year.
I know it.
The coverage doesn't stop yet. We get to go into December.
Bowl
This is
game.
crazy.
Say it with me, guys. Bowl game.
Bowl game.
Bowl game.
10
So
wins.
the season doesn't end on Friday. The season doesn't end on Friday.
I know.
I'm not used. I'll be honest with you. It was irritating being down there in Florida and expecting Florida State to win that game last year, and then not coming away and being like, "Well, that sucks. We had so many pieces ready to go out."
Logan, focus on this year.
I am.
Beat Florida, and then we're going to manifest that Florida State will come down to the Capital One Orange Bowl.
I would. You know what? Now I wasn't able to go down there this year. I will go down to an Orange Bowl one. I mean, those would be some pretty cool credentials to put up on the collection there.
Because
The Media Hotel too, right? Get the
Media Hotel in Dania Beach. There's the Latina women are here waiting for you.
Oh, don't tell me that. Oh, sign me up. But it's not. Is it still warm down there? Because I need to see if the bikinis are on or
It's
not.
85 degrees down here today, the day before Thanksgiving. So
Oh my God! The bikinis are out. So please, Orange Bowl, whatever that takes. I don't know who has to do what.
Benvenidos a Miami.
Well, you can't do that anymore. You got
No,
to.
but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Benvenidos.
You can't. You won't be
Wrap
out
it
at
up.
the
Wrap it
club
up,
with
Mark.
us.
Wrap it up, Mark. Wrap it up, Mark. Wrap it up.
Jason definitely knew which buttons to push right
Wrap it
there.
up.
I was going to go
Wrap
the
it up.
football route and say you could go down to South Florida and actually see Florida State play a decent team this time, and actually see a stadium that's full. But
Logan's a
yeah,
25-year-old
Jason
man.
knew
I
which
know,
buttons to push.
I knew how to get Logan down here. I know how to get that 25-year-old man down here.
That's it. All right, this was a fun one. Florida State, Florida. Everybody, check it out on ABC primetime Friday night, and then we'll be here with the Voice of College Football for post game.
I guess watch ABC. I'll allow one-time reprieve. Watch ABC. Watch ABC programming.
You guys are welcome to stop by for some post game. Let me know.
I'd be down. I'd be down for that. Just throw the link in the chat, and God
We'll do
knows
it.
what you'll see of me.
Phenomenal. All right, guys. Always appreciate it. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy. Stuff yourself. Do whatever you want to do.
All the best, guys. We'll see you next week where we're going to talk bowl game.
Yes.
That's right.
Bowl
Good
projections next week.
That's
Because
right.
we won't know for sure, but that'll be fun to do. All right.
Yeah, we'll talk about opponents.